The moment Lily whispered, "Daddy, there's a camera in your office," Nathan Cole felt his world shift. She was just 10, his bright, curious, adopted daughter, but her voice trembled with something he'd never heard before: fear. And when he asked her why she thought that, she looked up at him and whispered even softer, "Because she talks to it when you're not home." That was the moment the billionaire CEO realized the woman he was about to marry might not just be hiding something. She might be watching him, selling him, destroying him from the inside. And the only person who saw it coming was a little girl with nothing but instincts and the courage to speak. 10-year-old Lily Cole didn't believe in ghosts, but she had learned to trust her instincts. And that night, as the wind brushed gently against the tall windows of the Cole estate and the house settled into its usual evening stillness, something felt off. She padded barefoot across the gleaming marble hallway, her stuffed bunny dangling from one arm as she made her nightly rounds. Lily had made it a game in her head, one lap around the house before bed, securing the castle, like she'd read in her fantasy books. But as she passed the closed door to her father's private office, a soft, distinct click stopped her in her tracks. It was faint, barely noticeable, but not the usual creak of old wood or whir of electronics she was used to. She leaned in. Nothing. The room was dark behind the frosted glass, silent, but Lily's gut clenched. Something had moved. She didn't open the door. Instead, she backed away slowly, eyes locked on the door handle. A whisper, barely audible, escaped her lips. That wasn't a normal sound. She turned and walked quickly, not running, never running. That was rule number one in the house, and headed straight for the West Wing where Mrs. Baines lived. The elderly housekeeper had been with the Cole family for decades and was the only adult Lily completely trusted besides her father. Mrs. Baines answered the knock in her robe, her hair pinned up messily, glasses sliding down her nose. "Lily, sweetheart, what on earth?" "There's something in Daddy's office," Lily blurted, breathless. "I heard a sound, like a click, but not a normal one." Mrs. Baines's brow furrowed. "A sound?" Lily nodded firmly. "I think there's a camera, or something watching." To any other adult, the words might have sounded like a child's fantasy. But Mrs. Baines knew Lily wasn't a child prone to paranoia. She was perceptive, quiet, thoughtful. And she had grown up under the roof of one of the most powerful tech CEOs in the country, Nathan Cole, founder of Cole Systems, a man who built security software empires and trusted no one easily. Mrs. Baines placed a hand gently on Lily's shoulder. "All right, we'll check, but carefully." Lily's eyes lit up. "Thank you." That night, as the house slept, the two moved through the halls in silence, flashlights dimmed to their lowest setting. They didn't open the office. Not yet. Instead, Mrs. Baines took Lily's words and made a quiet plan. Tomorrow they'd investigate. And Lily, just 10 years old, adopted, but sharp as a tack, had no idea she had just uncovered the first clue in a betrayal that could tear her father's empire apart. The following morning, the golden sun poured through the high windows of the Cole estate, casting long streaks of light across the polished floors. Everything appeared ordinary. Staff moved quietly through the halls preparing breakfast. Nathan had already left for an early board meeting, and yet beneath the calm exterior of the house, tension simmered. Lily sat at the kitchen island, stirring her cereal without eating, her eyes glancing up every few seconds to meet Mrs. Baines's. The older woman gave her a nod, subtle but sure. As soon as the security team rotated outside and most of the household staff disappeared upstairs, Mrs. Baines took Lily's hand and led her quietly toward the office. The door remained closed, as it had the night before. "Mid or me misses?" Baines retrieved a set of skeleton keys from her cardigan pocket, ones that had been entrusted to her long ago. With a soft click, the door opened, and the familiar scent of her father's cologne and cedarwood shelves greeted them. The office was pristine, its shelves lined with awards, rare books, and technological prototypes. Nothing looked out of place, but Lily's senses were still alert. "It was near the bookshelves," she whispered, pointing to the far corner where the shelves met the wall. Mrs. Baines knelt beside the books, gently running her fingers behind spines and over the panels, feeling for inconsistencies. For a moment there was nothing. Then her fingers froze. "Here," she said quietly. She pressed into a hollow section between two books. It clicked inward. From the shadows, a small black device no bigger than a walnut was revealed, tucked behind a faux book spine with a tiny lens barely visible. A hidden camera, Mrs. Baines said, almost to herself. Professional grade, not something you buy at a local store. Lily's mouth fell open. I knew it. Mrs. Baines's expression grew more serious. She pulled out a compact signal detector from the drawer. Nathan always kept a few tools around. Sure enough, the scanner picked up another signal across the room, embedded in the frame of a decorative wall painting. There's more than one, she murmured. Lily looked around the office, her imagination racing. Someone's been watching Dad. All the time? Possibly recording. Listening too, Mrs. Baines said. But not part of the house system. This is foreign hardware. Secret. Then, who would put it there? The answer was chilling in its simplicity. Only a few people had regular access to Nathan's private office. His daughter, his housekeeper, his security chief, and, most recently, his fiancée, Simone. Lily's voice trembled. It has to be her. Mrs. Baines didn't speak immediately. She took a breath and then met Lily's eyes. We can't jump to conclusions, but we have to be smart. If it is her, your father needs proof. And if she's watching, we can't let her know we found anything. Lily's small fist clenched. Then we'll catch her. The two of them left the room, resetting everything exactly as it had been. Cameras in place, signals undisturbed. The trap was set. And for the first time, Lily understood. She wasn't just a little girl in a big house anymore. She was her father's first and fiercest protector. The house was unusually quiet that afternoon, as though even its walls sensed the growing tension beneath the surface. Lily sat on the living room couch, pretending to read a book, but her eyes kept darting toward the hallway. She was listening, watching, observing Simone. Nathan's fiancée was perfect, on the surface. Simone Ray, a former tech consultant turned luxury wellness entrepreneur, had breezed into their lives 2 years ago and never left. With her silky voice, flawless fashion sense, and designer charm, she fit right into Nathan Cole's world of private jets and exclusive events. The press adored them. Investors praised Nathan's grounding influence. But Lily never trusted her. She couldn't explain why. Maybe it was the way Simone's smile never reached her eyes, or how she always entered a room like it already belonged to her, or how she spoke to Lily only when Nathan was around, always sugary sweet, never sincere. Mrs. Baines noticed it too. The distant stares, the perfectly timed absence during family conversations. The phone call Simone took in hushed tones when she thought no one was listening. Something wasn't right. So they watched and waited. That evening, while Nathan attended a charity dinner in the city, Simone stayed behind claiming a migraine. Lily and Mrs. Baines enacted phase 1 of their plan. Make it believable, Mrs. Baines whispered. She needs to think she's uncovered something real. Lily nodded and slipped into her father's office. She placed a new USB flash drive, bright red, labeled Confidential, Phase 9 Beta Protocol, right next to his desk monitor. It wasn't plugged in, just lying there carelessly, tempting, like bait. Meanwhile, Mrs. Baines made sure the backup system Nathan had once asked her to monitor years ago was still active. It didn't run on the main grid Simone would have access to. It was old school, analog fed, and encrypted, perfect for what they needed. Simone emerged from the master suite around 1 a.m. The footage later showed her dressed in silk pajamas, barefoot, tiptoeing, like she didn't want to wake anyone. She opened the door to Nathan's office without hesitation, glancing around only once. Then she walked straight to the desk and picked up the USB. She plugged it in. Lily and Mrs. Baines, huddled silently in the laundry room with the live feed on a small screen, watched it all. Simone opened the files, transferred their contents to her phone, and carefully placed the USB back. Before leaving, she adjusted the chair slightly, just enough to make it look like nothing had happened. Lily watched, heart pounding, as Mrs. Baines pressed record. The image was crystal clear. There was no doubt. She didn't even hesitate, Lily whispered. She's done it before, Mrs. Baines said grimly. They sat for a long time in silence after Simone left the office. The video played over and over in Lily's mind. The deception, the calmness, the betrayal. Suddenly, all the little things made sense. The way Simone always asked about Nathan's business trips, the timing of certain investor leaks, the strange email glitches he mentioned once over dinner. She's selling his secrets, Lily said. Mrs. Baines nodded. And we're going to stop her. Outside, the wind picked up. A storm was coming, but Lily wasn't afraid anymore. Now, she had proof. The storm rolled in just before dawn. Thunder rumbled like distant drums across the hills, and rain tapped at the windows of the Cole estate in rhythmic waves. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Lily barely slept. She had replayed the footage of Simone in Nathan's office at least a dozen times in her mind. Every movement, every glance, every lie now exposed. When she woke, she found Mrs. Baines already in the kitchen, making tea with calm hands but a furrowed brow. Today, she said quietly as Lily entered, today we give your father the truth. Nathan returned just after 8 a.m., umbrella in hand, his tailored coat damp with rain. He looked tired. Another late-night dinner with investors, another evening pretending to enjoy being around people who only wanted pieces of his empire. He smiled when he saw Lily and kissed the top of her head. Morning, Peanut. Sleep okay? Lily hesitated, then nodded. Can I talk to you after breakfast? It's important. He raised an eyebrow but didn't question her. Of course. Simone descended the staircase shortly after, perfectly put together in a pale blue blouse and diamond earrings, as if she hadn't been up at 2 a.m. committing corporate espionage. She greeted Nathan with a kiss and Lily with an overly bright smile. Good morning, darling. I was just telling your father we should plan a weekend getaway, just the three of us. Lily smiled back tightly, her stomach twisting. After breakfast, as Simone disappeared into the sunroom to make a call, undoubtedly to her wellness contacts, as she liked to say, Mrs. Baines signaled to Lily. They led Nathan into the study and closed the door. What's going on? He asked, his voice still light but cautious. Mrs. Baines nodded to Lily, giving her the floor. There's something I need to show you, Daddy, she said softly. Please don't get mad. I didn't mean to snoop, but I heard something weird the other night in your office. Nathan's expression shifted, brows knitting. Lily took a deep breath and opened the laptop Mrs. Baines had placed on the desk. She clicked play. At first, Nathan leaned in with mild curiosity. Then as Simone appeared on screen, silently entering his office and accessing the USB, his jaw tensed. His expression hardened with every passing second. By the time Simone was placing the drive back and tiptoeing out of the room, Nathan was standing, his fists clenched. Is this real? He asked. Mrs. Baines answered. Recorded through the backup security system you had installed years ago. She had no access to it. Lily found the camera. We checked everything twice. Nathan ran a hand down his face. His silence was louder than anger. After a moment, he turned to Lily and pulled her into a hug, holding her tight. You were right, he whispered. You saw what I couldn't. Lily buried her face into his coat. I didn't want to believe it either. He pulled back and looked at both of them. We're not going to confront her, not yet. If she's selling this to someone, I want to know who's buying. I need the whole picture. You have a plan? Mrs. Baines asked. Nathan nodded. I always have a plan. Later that afternoon, he made a show of leaving the house for an unexpected board meeting. But he didn't go far. In a quiet room on the property, he set up a staged video call, one designed to bait Simone. In the call, he discussed a fake project, a multi-billion-dollar merger with a major competitor. Every word was a lie, rehearsed, and carefully recorded. The entire thing was left conveniently open on a computer in the main study. Then he waited. Simone took the bait within hours. And just like that, the web began to tighten. The trap wasn't just set, it was closing. The following morning dawned unnaturally bright, as if the storm had scrubbed the sky clean. But inside the Cole estate, the atmosphere remained heavy with unspoken tension. Nathan was quiet over breakfast, his mind clearly spinning. Simone, on the other hand, was glowing, overly cheerful, her smile stretching just a little too wide, her voice an octave too high. Lily watched her carefully from across the table. She could see the cracks now. Simone's mask was slipping, and it wouldn't take much more to rip it away completely. By mid-morning, Nathan had retreated to his study, pretending to catch up on emails. In reality, he was monitoring the logs of the hidden security system. A few hours earlier, Simone had entered the study again, gone directly to the open laptop and recorded the fake merger call. She didn't even hesitate. She'd transferred the audio file to her phone, wiped the recent documents history, and left. Just like she had before, but this time Nathan was waiting. He called a meeting with his private legal team and trusted CTO, Marcus Vane, a man who had been with him since the company's earliest days. In a secure room, they reviewed the footage from both incidents, plus the camera logs that Mrs. Baines and Lily had helped uncover. It wasn't just the USB. Simone had accessed at least 6 different sensitive documents in the last 4 months. Launch schedules, patent drafts, and early-stage financial reports. All of it traced through a shadow server Nathan's security team hadn't known existed. Until now. The data trails led back to a private account, which then bounced through several layers of anonymized networks, before finally tying back to Billionaire, Nathan's most aggressive competitor. The same company Simone once worked for. Nathan sat back in his chair, stunned by the scale of it. He'd been so focused on expanding his empire, planning a life with Simone, that he never imagined betrayal would come from within his own home. She wasn't just stealing from me, he said quietly. She was selling the future. Marcus looked grim. We can't go public yet. If we accuse her now, she'll disappear, and the trail might go cold. Nathan nodded. I'm not going public. Not yet. I'm going to confront her, but I'll do it my way. Later that evening, Nathan made his move. He invited Simone to a private dinner on the patio. A quiet evening. Just the two of us, he told her. She had agreed without hesitation, dressing in a cream-colored silk dress and heels far too delicate for the gravel path. She smiled as she approached the table, candlelight flickering between them. This is lovely, she said, sipping her wine. I've missed this. Just us. Nathan smiled, but there was no warmth behind it. Yes, just us. They talked for a while, or rather, she did, rambling about spa investments, a new startup idea, and how the board adored her. Nathan simply listened. Then, just as dessert was served, he leaned in and said softly, Tell me about Billionaire. Simone froze. Her fork hovered midair. I don't know what you mean, she said quickly. I think you do, he replied, sliding his phone across the table. On the screen, the video of her sneaking into the study, accessing the USB, downloading the file. Her face drained of color. Nathan, I can explain. Don't, he cut in, voice suddenly cold. I've already heard enough. She stared at him in stunned silence, then slowly lowered her fork. You don't understand. I had to. They what? Paid you? Threatened you? He tilted his head. Or did you simply see an opportunity? She didn't answer, which told him everything. I trusted you, he said, rising to his feet. I brought you into my home, into my daughter's life. Simone stood as well, shaking now. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did, he said, and you're done. 2 security guards stepped from the shadows, flanking the patio entrance. Simone turned in shock but didn't resist. Nathan nodded once, and they escorted her away, quietly, without a scene. Nathan remained on the patio long after she was gone, the wind rustling the trees overhead. He wasn't angry anymore. He was heartbroken. But beneath that pain was clarity, and something stronger. Resolve. In the days following Simone's removal from the estate, the atmosphere inside the house shifted from tense and uncertain to calm, almost eerily so. Lily noticed it first. The walls no longer felt like they were watching her. The air felt lighter. No suspicious footsteps echoed down the halls in the middle of the night. No overly sweet voice pretended to care about her breakfast choices. It was quiet, yes, but for the first time in a long while, it felt safe. Nathan, however, was not resting. While the household slowly returned to normal, he worked around the clock with his legal team and Marcus to gather everything they had. The evidence wasn't just damning, it was ironclad. Simone had, over the course of 10 months, stolen intellectual property worth hundreds of millions. She hadn't acted alone either. Further investigation revealed a small network of operatives inside both Cole Systems and Virintech, all connected through encrypted communications and anonymous drop points. But Nathan had every message, every file transfer, every breadcrumb she thought she'd swept under the rug. Still, he didn't go public right away. Why not just expose her? Lily asked him one afternoon, curled beside him on the sofa, watching the fireplace flicker. Nathan glanced down at her, He looked tired, older than usual, but there was a quiet focus in his eyes. Because the real power isn't in making a scene, he said gently. It's in controlling the story. If I go public now, I let her choose how this ends. She becomes the victim. I become the cold billionaire who pushed her away. But if I wait, I dismantle the whole network from the inside. Lily nodded slowly, not entirely understanding, but sensing the weight behind his words. Are you scared? He paused, then answered honestly, yes, but I'm not alone anymore. Later that night, Nathan sat in his office, the same one where the betrayal had begun. The cameras were gone, the bugs removed. And yet for a moment, he still hesitated before turning on the light, as if half expecting another ghost to be waiting. But instead, Mrs. Baines entered with a quiet knock and a mug of chamomile tea. I thought you could use this, she said, setting it beside him. He looked up at her and smiled faintly. I should have listened to you sooner. You did what you thought was best, she replied kindly. Love has a way of making even the smartest men blind. He exhaled through a dry laugh. Apparently, she straightened the papers on his desk out of habit. Lily's been brave through all of this. You should know how proud she is. I'm proud of her, Nathan said, emotion catching in his throat. She's the one who saved me from something I didn't want to see. She just wanted her father safe, Mrs. Baines said softly. That's love, pure and honest. That night, Nathan sent the final files to the authorities. Quietly, securely, no press release, no headlines. Within 48 hours, Virion Tech's CEO was placed on indefinite leave pending internal investigation. 2 former Coal Systems employees were quietly arrested at their homes. Simone's accounts were frozen, her assets were seized. Every trace of the conspiracy began to unravel like the seams of a tailored suit under pressure. By the end of the week, Nathan received an encrypted message from a government official. You've done the country and your company a service. You're clear to move forward. Quiet commendations are being prepared. He closed the laptop and looked out the window toward the garden, where Lily was chasing Birch, her laughter rising through the late afternoon air like a melody. The storm had passed, and this time, it was not returning. The weeks that followed were filled with the kind of silence Nathan hadn't experienced in years. Not the anxious kind that came before something went wrong, but the peaceful kind that settled in when danger had passed. It was the quiet of safety, of breathing deeply without looking over one's shoulder, of trusting that the next knock on the door wasn't carrying betrayal behind it. Nathan took a break from work. For the first time in over a decade, he turned down international speaking engagements, corporate dinners, and press opportunities. His assistant filtered out everything that didn't require his signature. What he didn't cancel, he postponed indefinitely. His focus had shifted. Instead of boardrooms, he spent his mornings in the garden, drinking coffee while Lily painted rocks or tied ribbons in Birch's fur. Instead of spreadsheets, he helped her build a tree swing. And when she asked if she could start planting a butterfly garden, he not only said yes, he got on his knees and dug with her. Each day, Lily became more open, more cheerful. The tension that had curled in her shoulders, the guarded way she'd once watched Simone from behind furniture or doorways, that was gone now. She giggled freely. She asked Nathan to read bedtime stories again, something she hadn't done since she was 7. Mrs. Baines watched them both with quiet satisfaction, keeping the kitchen stocked with Lily's favorite cinnamon cookies and making sure Nathan didn't bury himself in guilt. You can't undo what happened, she told him once, but you can be here now. And that's all she ever wanted. One afternoon, Nathan received an envelope delivered by hand, not from a courier, but from a private investigator he'd hired at the start of the Simone suspicion. Inside were the final findings: financial records, burner phone logs, and offshore accounts connected to Simone. There was no ambiguity left. Everything she'd done was for profit, and every whispered "I love you" had been calculated. He stared at the documents for a long time, sitting alone in his study. He felt no rage, just disappointment, and a strange, sharp ache for what could have been, for the life he thought he'd found in Simone. But he folded the documents and locked them away, not in a drawer, but in a safe, sealed, finished. That night, as he and Lily sat beneath the stars in the backyard, wrapped in a blanket with hot cocoa between them, she looked up at him with wide eyes. Are you okay now? She asked. He looked at her, startled by the depth in her voice. I think so. Are you? She nodded. I just didn't want her to hurt you. Or us. You protected us both, he said. You were the bravest one in the whole house. She leaned her head on his arm and whispered, I'm glad she's gone. Nathan didn't reply right away. He just watched the sky with her, letting the moment stretch. Then he said, me too. That night, Lily fell asleep, curled beside him, and Nathan carried her upstairs with ease, something he hadn't done since she was little. He tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and whispered, Thank you for saving me, little star. And somewhere deep inside, he began to believe that he deserved this second chance, not just to protect his daughter, but to be present for her, to stop chasing legacy and start building a life, a real one, quiet, honest, unbreakable. Spring arrived with soft winds and the gentle return of life to the estate. The garden bloomed in bright colors, and the scent of fresh earth and new beginnings drifted through the open windows. Inside the Cole house, laughter echoed more freely now, warm and unburdened. Life, in all its simplicity, was no longer something Nathan Cole watched pass by from the high tower of his success. It was something he now lived. 3 months had passed since Simone had been escorted out of his life. The legal proceedings moved quietly in the background, handled by teams Nathan no longer needed to micromanage. The world never heard the full story. There were whispers in financial circles and sudden shifts in Virentech's leadership, but no public scandal. Nathan had chosen discretion, not vengeance. But that didn't mean he forgot. He learned, and he grew. Nathan began spending more time at home, reworking his company's remote leadership structure to allow him to stay closer to Lily. He installed a new digital security protocol, not just for business, but for his personal life too. No more blind trust. No more unchecked access. But also, no more distance. No more detachment. He was fully present now, in his work, in his home, and most of all, in his daughter's life. Lily thrived. She started drawing again, filling notebooks with stories and illustrations. She invited friends over for the first time in years. Her nightmares stopped. She no longer tiptoed past rooms or flinched at sudden noises. She laughed louder, hugged tighter, and ran into Nathan's arms after school like she used to when she was little. One weekend in May, they hosted a small garden party, just close friends and staff who had become like family. Marcus came, bringing his wife and kids. Mrs. Baines, glowing with pride, baked an enormous apple pie. Lily helped set the table and hung paper lanterns from the trees. As the sun dipped behind the hills, the garden lit up with soft golden lights, music, and the kind of joy that feels earned. At one point in the evening, Nathan stood beside the fire pit, watching Lily dance barefoot in the grass with 2 other girls her age. She wore a white dress with a blue sash and a flower crown they'd made that morning. Her laughter was so clear, so free, it nearly brought tears to his eyes. Mrs. Baines appeared beside him, holding a glass of lemonade. You've done well, she said quietly. Nathan smiled, his eyes never leaving Lily. I didn't save her. She saved me. Mrs. Baines nodded. That's what love does. Later that night, after the guests left and the garden lights flickered out one by one, Nathan and Lily sat on the porch swing beneath a sky full of stars. Do you miss her? Lily asked suddenly, her voice gentle. Nathan paused, considering the question. No, he said truthfully. I miss the idea of her, but not who she really was. Lily nodded slowly. I don't think I'll ever let anyone hurt us again. He looked at her, pride swelling in his chest. You're stronger than most grown-ups I know. She grinned. That's because I have the best dad. Nathan pulled her close, resting his chin atop her head. And I have the bravest daughter. The wind rustled the trees softly. Somewhere in the distance, birch barked once before settling in for the night. The house behind them glowed with a golden warmth, not just a place of wealth, but now a home. No cameras, no lies, no masks, just love. And finally, peace. As the author, I see the ending of this story not simply as a victory over betrayal, but as a quiet, meaningful transformation. For all the characters, Nathan began as a man who had everything, wealth, power, and control, but lacked the one thing he truly needed, genuine connection. His success had blinded him to the most dangerous threat of all, one that came wearing a smile and whispering love. It took a child's honesty to break through that illusion. Lily, though young, is the true heart of this story. She represents intuition, loyalty, and unshakable love. Her bravery wasn't loud, but it was pure, and ultimately it's what saved them both. Her voice, often dismissed by the adults around her, became the key to uncovering a truth no one else dared to question. The happy ending isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about restoration. It's about rebuilding trust, reclaiming peace, and learning that strength sometimes shows up as quiet resilience in small, brave choices. And in that way, the story ends not with a fall, but with a rise. A father and daughter, wounded but wiser, choosing a life built not on image or ambition, but on truth, together.